Imagine an electrical grid that utilizes analog or digital information and communications technologies together, then acts on that information to indicate the behavior of suppliers and consumers in an automated fashion to improve the efficiency, reliability, economics, and sustainability of the production and distribution of electricity. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, June 24th, 2014, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Well, imagine no more, for not only is that grid here, it's here and now. New innovative technologies have already achieved a smart grid with the capability of cognitive decision-making to optimize a global grid with real-time accurate voltage and current sensing, comprehensive visibility of distribution loads and voltage conditions, and more. Grid intelligence. That's right, real-time data measurements and monitoring throughout the distribution line. Up to the Tech Talk, the Smart Grid today, and getting smarter as we speak with Kevin Mays with IUS Technologies. Kevin has 20 years of engineering design, product development, and technical sales experience. He has received a patent award for innovation as a member of the team that developed Tango TM, the world's first two-way pager. He later successfully leveraged technical expertise and business acumen for many years with Maxim Integrated Products, where he contributed to the growth of the wireless business unit with key design wins and new products like a new tuner IC for leading satellite radio provider. Kevin is service manager for IUS Technologies, headquartered out of Alpharetta, one of TAG's top 40 innovative companies in Georgia. IUS Technologies, it's all about making the power grid smarter. On this Tech Talk, we uncover just what are the tangible benefits of the smart grid. How does the smart grid technology fit into the changing demand for electricity? You know, from things like electric cars to alternative energy sources like solar and wind power. And what does the future of even smarter grid technology look like for the United States in the next decade? It's a Tech Talk that takes you inside and out of the grid and then beyond as we speak with IUS Technologies' Kevin Mays. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Kevin, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hi, Frank. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
A lot of conversation centered around the smart grid. Having an opportunity to speak to someone that's so embedded into that situation and has been for such an extended period of time. Relate to some of our listeners, what's the tangible benefits from the smart grid and who sees those benefits?
Okay, Frank, smart grid, if you kind of, we all get this marketing kind of perspective on it, and really what it really benefits, it does benefit the end users, but it really also benefits the utilities in terms of giving them the opportunity to make their system more efficient, reduce overall cost, as well as reduce greenhouse effects. Now, of course, that ancillary benefits, the world, if you will, the globe, as well as individual customers and clients. They're able to, if the utilities can save money in their delivery and provide a better service, we also benefit by receiving, reduced costs or better service for our price.
Well, that's two pretty good selling propositions from a consumer standpoint. If I can lower my costs and get a better service, I'm thinking I'm a winner to begin with. So, and especially with some of the concerns when you watch the global situation and start to relate to deficiencies. When you don't have it, you begin to realize how important it really is, and to have it, especially driving the technology and the digital economy of the future. I would say that that aspect of the utility benefit from it is pretty solid need that needs to get done. So that's pretty interesting. Talk a little bit about the changing demand for electricity. I mean, I'm sort of touching on it when we talk about innovation in the digital economy, like electric cars and alternative energy sources, solar and wind,
Yeah, so Frank, from the perspective I see, and I'm sure a lot of your TAG listeners out there and members will realize, so there's the first tangible aspect. We all have more gadgets and electronics and things that the power that we require now. You think back 20 years or 30 years ago, you didn't have as many portable products or things that need to require chargers, or you're plugging in as many things. So in general, innovation has given us this technology and these extra uses and applications of things to do, but it also is putting additional requirement in terms of our electricity use. Now, and additionally, we look at solar power, electric cars, hybrid cars, innovations of the future that are going to reduce our dependency on some of the natural resources and even foreign resources. That gives the perspective of demand, increases even more so. As we've seen from, this president and in past administrations, there have been a concerted effort and push to reduce this dependency on our foreign suppliers. We're getting more of a push in terms of utilizing our own resources locally, or, again, do things to improve the environment by reducing coal-generated power, and again, improving gas mileage and transportation-related issues, et cetera. So, from that perspective, the demand is just going to greatly increase. We're seeing innovative companies like Tesla. They're coming out with production-ready vehicles in terms of that are high performance. We have, I believe it's. Not to plug anyone's in particular, but I believe it's Nissan. It has the Leaf. That car is getting a lot of use, and the word I'm thinking of, it's becoming more commonplace in terms of the hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles. So we're seeing more of a dependency, or not say dependency, we're seeing more of a requirement and drive for this type of vehicles, et cetera. And what's the impact of that on our electrical distribution system is requiring these devices to, hold these charges, be able to charge, and the solar element being able to supply power back to the grid. Now, that opens up a whole other aspect of the whole demand and use and net metering, et cetera. But for those who aren't necessarily informed, and Frank, please feel free to stop me if I ramble on here.
No, well, your passion is pretty clear, and it's obvious. I guess one of the things I was thinking as you were talking about, especially when you think about Tesla and some of the things they're doing, it's not the commercial that Tesla uses, but I think that the slogan is right on, and that there's no room to be boring. They're finally making these electric cars and some of the more efficient products that are being generated from the innovation of the capability of the grid. That just simply are market-driven. They just look better and as you're commenting, perform better. One of the things our listeners, I'm sure, are aware of is that you guys were named one of the top 40 innovative companies in Georgia, and I think most of our listeners know that competition is pretty strong, and it's I heard a friend of mine tell me it's sort of like old age. It's not made for wusses, So being able to come out of that situation with that kind of recognition means you guys are onto something. And I think one of the things that they talked a lot about when they talk about your company is that your technologies make the power grid smarter. How do you make the power grid smarter? How do you do that?
Well, first let me say I must thank the TAG organization for recognizing IUS technologies, and we're proud to be named one of the top 40 companies in Georgia. Now, in terms of making the grid smarter, our core belief in our product is driven behind grid intelligence, and we feel that grid intelligence is kind of like the heartbeat. It's the necessary aspect of providing information to your utilities control system so they can make these changes and adjustments that offer more efficient networks. And so grid intelligence for us simply means having extremely accurate information in a very timely or real-time manner, and being able to use that information to make decisive electrical decisions, adjusting the load for peak conditions, or adjusting switch gear in order to reroute power if there's an outage, isolate the faulted areas. And again,
there's no time for interpreting that information, right? It's cognitive. It has to happen in real time.
Well, yeah, it kind of picks up on what you were saying previously now with the advent and the addition of all these additional sources in terms of power generation for solar and electric car vehicle use, et cetera. Yeah, it is becoming faster. Traditionally, some of these changes can happen, I don't say necessarily a snail's pace, but a little slower. Now we're seeing is the dependency, the increased demand, these fluctuations and changes. You have to make these decisions a lot more quicker now. Real-time information is obviously the key to it all, and some of these decisions are actually happening real time, but at this particular stage of the innovation or just the application of smart grid, it's real-time information is usually done more so for the peak, demand time,
yeah,
say
I
for
would think
summer,
a level of pattern information. I mean, pattern analytics they talk about.
Exactly. And then that's the other aspect of it. Having this real-time data, this grid intelligence, it allows these systems that are becoming smarter in themselves to be, more predictive in nature. So now they're able to not only just react to changing load and demand requirements, but actually predict them based on previous information or existing small fluctuations of the system in the grid. So that's really where things are really headed. When the grid is right now, I kind of say it's we're going towards smart grid. When we get to a truly intelligent grid, a lot of that information will be done exceedingly real time. It will be read the information and react instantaneously and or predict coming situations, so that now, the overall goal is keeping our lights on and keeping them on at a very, reasonable price.
So again, your primary customer is the utility.
Yes.
And it wouldn't be a case where, say, for example, a large energy user might benefit from the standpoint, but obviously they would benefit in the services and the price opportunities that are presented by the technology. But right now, is it obviously, and I'm going to guess, kind of a combination software and cloud? Is it? I'm guessing in terms of scalability, can you work with a small to medium-sized utility as well as some of the huge giants?
Yeah, you're exactly. So and let me just qualify something just a tad. So yeah, our main objective in terms of customers are the utilities, but you can have you have situations, you have microgrids where you have, say, a small industrial complex or a manufacturing facility that is fairly small. You think of some of these large innovative companies like Google and Microsoft that they have their own microsystems and they have their own microgrids. So conceivably they may generate their own power. So our products are actually applicable to those type of users or
so
customers
it's private
as well.
As well. Anybody that's generating electricity or generating any type of energy of some kind to drive those devices, your capability is adapted to those situations.
Exactly. And even actually some of our more advanced products in terms of asset management, our transformer monitoring systems, you have individual industrial companies that have their own, transformers and power plants, so they need to monitor the health of their transformers and or demand response applications where they need to, have a close, tight, monitoring of their power consumption use, et cetera. So there are applications on both sides of the fence, if you will. And when you talk about in terms of scalability, mobility towards cloud and et cetera, our devices, we kind of consider ourselves, I won't say communication agnostic, but when utilizing a native system like the MP3 protocol, which is, an industry standard, you can take that, anywhere. So using, server configurations or cloud configurations, you're absolutely right. It's completely applicable to those various types of computing and or control and management systems. So, we're very flexible, and most technology is going this way. You want to be extremely flexible because, in the U.S. we have more than 3,300 utilities, so including the co-ops and the municipal power companies as well as the large IOUs. So not everybody does the same thing. They don't do it exactly the same way. So this, variety, if you will, be it the spice of life, spice of life.
Sure.
But,
being able to adapt.
Exactly. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be flexible. And, that's part of, being intelligent. You think having intelligence, being born smart, you have to have this accurate information, but you also have to be flexible enough to work with just about, any type of system. So that's where, we kind of do things. And again, a lot of other smart grid type of products are in the same type of direction.
We're quickly running out of time, but I'd be remiss in not putting a challenge down. Got to draw the red line gauntlet and let's leave reality for a moment and start looking into the future. Okay. What I always joke about is that everybody talks about everything being so 20 minutes ago. We used to talk about a 10-year marketing plan or a 10-year strategic plan. Now you're lucky if you talk about a 3-month strategic plan before having to adopt. But when it comes to the future of smart grid technology, from your perspective, what does it look like for the United States in, say, the next 5-10 years?
It's interesting. As I've been in electronics and variety of technical fields for well over 20 years, and you're saying, hey, yeah, things change quickly. But one of the sort of the double-edged sword or the catch-22 to the utility business is,
they've been doing it the same way for a long time, huh?
For a long time, but also, someone compared to, trying to turn a oil tanker. It's going to happen eventually, but it moves kind of slowly. But the innovation and the footprints and the plans are in place for them to make these changes. Now, you're looking at 5 to 10 years. So currently, right now, we're seeing implementation of automatic metering infrastructure, AMI, so the home meters. The next side of that is self-healing networks, your FLISR, fault isolation detection and location services, where you reroute the power. Your next stage is going to be more in terms of making much more efficient grids, where more of our utility companies are going to be integrating volt-VAR application, volt-VAR control, conservation voltage reduction. And these type of technologies gives us more of the efficiencies that we need to reduce our dependency on the coal-generated power sources, reduce this emissions footprint, and then say 10 years down the line, what I'm seeing now is you're going to see more of the accompanying or management and implementation of what we call distributive generation. Those are your solar power power generating sources that are resident out on the distribution network, and those things are connected back into the grid. So, individual users or suppliers of electricity, even, homeowners themselves, you're going to be supplying power back into the grid. Now, again, the challenge there is you got to have the ability to monitor this information accurately and have that so the utilities can make the proper adjustments on the load, because it's kind of like a one-way street, or some of these streets where you see where they change the direction. The signal one time it's this way, the next. Yep. You have to be able to manage that so that again you don't cause any accidents, you don't cause any any pileups or anything of that nature. And it's a real concern especially for the utility workers, to have a unexpected power source coming at them when they think they're working on the down line.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah, more than that. It'll give you a nice little
That's
joke.
better than hot coffee, I'll tell you that. Well, Kevin, you made it really exciting and interesting. I think our listeners have picked up a lot of information as it relates to a topic that gets a lot of talk, but really doesn't get granular into the way it works, and especially taking a look about the future. I agree with you. I get it about change and how slow certain situations are in terms of legacy systems and methods that have been established for decades, and then suddenly, just like that electric shock you were talking about, something gets created from out of nowhere, and boom, everything changes. So it looks like it's a pretty exciting time for you guys at IUS, and really congratulations on the recognition for Top 40, and then especially for, I know as busy as you must be, for taking a few minutes out of your schedule to join us today on Tech Talk.
Frank, it's my pleasure. I can always make a few minutes for the folks at TAG, especially given the fact that they've recognized IUS Technologies as one of their top 40 companies. So it is my pleasure, and I'd be happy to come on and speak to you any other time in the future, sir. I'll make time for you guys.